Hello, I'm Windsor Flynn, and welcome back to the Book of Flynn, where we are broadcasting in whatever the opposite of Sunnydale is. There's no monsters, but the weather sucks. And with me, as always, is Raina Flynn.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's not nice out, although today was probably better than it has been in quite some time.
Yeah, there was actually some sun today, and it wasn't horribly Hoth-like. This has been a very cold, dark winter, and I think we're all over it, man.
It was 0 degrees today, and we're like, it was tropical.
This is where Gung, our man in Florida, is like, you fucking kidding me?
He's like, here's a picture of my palm trees. Here's a picture of my manatees in the backyard. And I'm like, please.
Yeah, and then we stopped talking to him. Like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
I did that once in the 90s when I went to Arizona. It was St. John, New Brunswick, and it was February. It was cold as fuck, and I went down to the States for 2 weeks on the Greyhound bus, mind you. That's going to come up again later in this recording.
Oh, dear.
And I called them on a cordless phone from a hot tub, and my roommate at the time, and I said, I'm in a hot tub outside. It's really nice, and he hung up on me. And I don't blame him.
You earned that.
Yeah, I did. Well, back to work, I guess.
Yeah, I guess here we go. We're going to just dive right into the Duchess of... Wait, no, let me rephrase that. We're going to dive right back into Star Wars Clone Wars, Episode 2. Nope, Season... God.
Those two things were like Kenobi going from oh my to oh my.
Season 2, Episode 14, Duchess of Mandalore, Star Wars Clone Wars. Holy crap, I finally said it. Okay, that's where we're at in the watch. If you haven't seen it and want to follow along, pause this, go watch it, then come back. Where to watch it? Anywhere that your pirate flag takes you. Just kidding. We don't condone piracy on this podcast.
No,
definitely watching
would.
a legit version.
We're definitely not being sponsored by any VPNs.
Absolutely not. And we're definitely speaking truths. Because the quote for this is, in war, truth is the first casualty.
This sounds a lot like a Churchill quote. I didn't check if it was, but it feels like a Churchill quote.
These quotes are too real at this particular moment. So my prediction for this episode is some orange hut and a spiced up alien financier are going to attempt to overthrow the Republic by spreading wild mistruths and creating confusion and mistrust.
I fucking hate this timeline. I mean, there's a lot of good shit in it, but some of the overarching world stuff needs to be tweaked. Whoever's running this simulation.
Like, that was too easily translated to the Star Wars universe. I'm just going to throw it out there. And I pictured for the financier, it's those stupid aliens that don't like Padme and keep trying to kill her.
Oh, the Neimoidians, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Their faces are the exact same. Check it out. It looks really close. We recap with the last 2 episodes and how Duchess Satine was betrayed by both Governor Happy Hogan, which is his real name.
Jon Favreau?
Yes. But what's his name in this?
I always forget the first names, but he's a Vizsla.
Okay, Vizsla. So Happy Hogan Vizsla. And Senator Merrick. And now she's on her way to the Senate to convince them that Death Watch doesn't speak for all of Mandalore. And we're connecting the 2 universes, Buffy and Clone Wars. Once again, we've got Merrick is the name of Buffy's first watcher. Rest in peace, Donald Sutherland.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Over at the Separatist Bridge /Moondalore /Mundo.
I have to keep editing myself out where I'm snorting and laughing at all this.
Please don't. You need to react to me. Someone needs to laugh at me besides myself.
I guess if it was silent, they'd be like, she must be driving him nuts.
I know. How are they still together?
Not in a bad way.
Count Dooku. He's back, everybody.
Oh, I knew you'd be so happy to see Count Chocula back.
Count Chocula, Count McLongface.
Is his beard looking, like his mustache looked a lot bigger than usual. I'm like, that's like a half a foot of mustache.
I have some thoughts about the chins in this episode. I'll point out one later. I have a screenshot. The separatist vampire is talking to the governor of Mundo and giving him the Canadian military party line, hurry up and wait.
Strong, proud, ready.
Governor's Proud Boys. Oh, actually, they can't be called that anymore. They lost the copyright to that. The Proud Mandos, the Proudos, whatever. So
God, it gets worse and worse.
Let's see if our relationship survives this podcast.
It will.
Thank you. So Chocula tells him to send an assassin to Coruscant to take out Satine. And in this moment, Governor just looks at a Mando, nods, and this Mando just walks away. And I hate that I'm impressed that the Governor just takes care of the entire thing with a nod, because it really reminded me of watching you and Gung work. No words necessary, just action. And that's why I hated that I was impressed, because Mandos, whether they're good or evil, are just badass. And you can't help but respect that no matter what side they're on.
Now, while it's true, Gung and I have worked together for a long time and we can play off each other in a fight very well, the thing is, the big secret is that we all talk to each other inside our helmets. That's what Mandalorians do. That's why they seem cool and impressive to outsiders in the Star Wars universe, because they just seem like they're quietly, judging you or whatever. But in their helmets, they're like, well, what the fuck are we going to do now? I don't know. Go kill that guy, will you? All right. That's what's going on in Mando Radio. I was impressed how many Mandalorians they seem to have in Death Watch. I don't remember that first time I watched it. There was literally like an army of Mandalorians.
Yeah. There is someone on the hill, and they see through their space binoculars that the governor is on a holo call with someone. And then he's like, I found something. And then he runs back to somewhere else, which I thought was Coruscant. And I thought this was Anakin, but he didn't land in a hairdryer. I'm nailing these locations. Nope, apparently this was Mandalore. And I hate that this show gatekeeps the knowledge. This is very hard to follow sometimes. And now we have a picture of this guy's chin. Copy. What is wrong with this guy's chin? Why does it look like that?
That is like shit. What is that? It's like he's got a shoehorn coming out of his chin.
I know. It's like he's like he was part recorder and then they stopped. So anyways, this guy who I now dubbed the Rando Mando #1 is updating Prime Minister that the Death Watch armies are readying themselves, but they won't be able to take over Mandalore without winning over the people. And the Prime Minister's like, well, better not get the Republic in here, because that would make Death Watch look like liberators versus the terrorists. And this nuance, this new layer of the political game that Satine is playing really made me reevaluate her entire stance on this, and I get into that a bit later. But the interesting predicament is allow the Republic to help, possibly lose their planet and everything that they built, refuse the Republic's help, leave Mandalore open to a separatist takedown. Not that these two realize that it's being backed by the separatists at this point, I don't think. And I guess he didn't recognize who Gavna Favreau, oh my gosh, Governor Favreau, Vizsla, was talking to. Actually at Coruscant now. It took me a minute. While the Prime Minister and the Rando Mando #1 are talking about how powerless Death Watch is on Mandalore, Chancellor Palpatine is spreading all that fear propaganda that Death Watch is hide your kids, hide your wives.
I hate this too, just given geopolitical shit in the world now, just the manipulation and fear mongering. Like, I fucking hate Palpatine worse than ever now.
I was impressed by Palpatine and I hated that only because we're watching somebody in real life now do a piss poor imitation of what this guy's trying to do. Yeah. And it makes me respect the level of thought that he put into this, because give the guy an Oscar. He needs to be concerned about the growing threat to his republic when he's not only funding it to bring down the republic that he is in charge of, and then adding in that he knowing that the Republic troops would have this effect on Mandalore, therefore usher in a full planet under the Separatists.
The truly unbelievable part for me is all the old white men who like Palpatine pretending to care about the common people. In the real world, they don't even fucking pretend to care about the real people.
No. So he's like, hide your kids, hide your wives, Death Watch is coming. And Satine's like, hold up, we actually got this pretty well handled. Let's just, and then goes on to reiterate exactly what the Prime Minister said, that this would be a really big uproar. This would cause an uproar on Mandalore. And it's funny that even though I thought that Satine for the last 2 episodes was very obtuse and unnecessarily naive, this extra layer also made me reevaluate how she is looking at this whole thing. And she's really facing a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario.
Yeah.
I respect her position in this a bit more, but I don't know what I would do if I was in her scenario. Station 1 Jedi on the ground with 0 troops in sight, just on a ship somewhere off in the far distance to, like, be on alert. I don't know, but it's hard to figure out what you would do given her situation.
I'd probably build a time machine and go back and stop myself from fucking ever letting Mandalore turn into a pacifist culture.
Palpatine shows a video of Deputy Minister Jarek, which rhymes with Merrick, saying that the current government, aka Satine's government, has created a civil war and is begging for Republic assistance. And it says that the current government is acting out of pride rather than its responsibility to the people. And what does the first thing as narcissists do is they take everything about themselves and they turn it outward. So Palpatine turning that whole thing outwards, Satine's worst fear right against her.
Giving off some real dictator vibes there, like, we'll come and protect you for your own good.
Satine's like, can we just have a moment, please, so I can go talk to Jarek and sort this out, because this doesn't make any sense. And Palpatine's like, oh, yes, by the way, he died this afternoon. Like, he died this morning. Sorry about that.
Oh, he died.
I got better. He did not, in fact, get better.
I do have a note here that it still blows my mind a little that not only has been Mandalore retconned into a pacifist society, but they actually have a presence in the Senate. Like, that idea seemed very far away in the old canon. Like, at one point later on in the timeline, Boba Fett becomes basically the Mandalore, the leader of the Mandalorians, and he's living in his friend's barn, and there's not much in the way of real cities there. So it's weird to me to see Mandalorians in any kind of political arena, I guess.
Yeah.
Just a side note from an old canon fart like me.
And towards the end of the scene, we see that Obi-Wan's been watching the entire sitting from the shadows. And I think he senses that there's a disturbance in the Force. There's something hinky-pinky going on. What? No idea, because Palpatine hides in the Force.
Well, it was like his first line in episode 1 said he's had a bad feeling about this. That somewhere elusive is like Obi-Wan picked up on the General Palpatine vibe way early on. He's probably been niggling at his mind for years now.
Yeah. Obi-Wan chases Satine after the hearing outside of the landing pad on the Senate. And he's checking in with her because he's like, okay, she'll be grieving right now. Like, this was a close personal friend of hers. And Satine lashes out and says one of the most epic quotes of this entire episode, and I actually put it on BlueSky earlier. Perhaps if more citizens got hysterical, they'd be more inclined to speak up when the Republic tramples on their rights.
Preach. Once Kenobi used the words state of mind and hysterical to Satine, like, I would have been hiding under a couch. I would have been like, you're on your own, Kenobi.
Yeah. You may have the Force behind you, but she's about to wield it, and she doesn't even know how. Satine completely tears a new one off of Obi-Wan, and I think genuinely hurts his feelings.
Well, she calls him out. Like, what does she say? Like, how he's gallivanting around but preaching other people to not be hysterical? Like, it came out really hypocritical. Yeah,
for someone who promotes peace, you're so quick to choose violence kind of thing. Which, I mean, same. So anyway, she leaves. And I'm like, why do I feel like this is going to be her last words to him? Because this seems really final. And no sooner did I hit play after typing that, the scene cut from her hover taxi to the Death Watch Mando, #1, detonating a bomb. And And I thought the explosion would be bigger, but then I realized they want to make it look like an accident. They want to continue that confusion and that mistrust. Two guards take Satine and leap onto this landing pad that the driver managed to get close to. And the driver, who is known to Satine, I guess, because she called him by name, ended up perishing in the explosion.
Now, you see what happens when you go pacifist and give up your jetpacks? You never know when you're going to need to jump out of a crashing speeder.
Yep. At Chancellor's Palpatine, Palpatine is telling Satine that there's no proof of anything, so they're like, we're not going to look into it. And this seems oddly callous for someone feigning to be the compassionate leader of the Republic, but whatever. This confusion again is sparking the argument that Death Watch is stronger than they appear. And Satine's like, I want justice for this. And Republic's like, all right, we're stepping in. Satine, not like that.
Yeah, it's too believable, honestly.
Yeah. And I think her struggle to walk that fine line between doing what's right for her people and protecting her people is making her look really wishy-washy. And I think that's my frustration, because I've been feeling that generally towards any of the opposition that's being faced down there, is that it feels very wishy-washy and like, ooh, we got to go through the appropriate channels. In the Senate hallway, Obi-Wan again reaches out to Satine to see how she is after the accident, and Satine is just too mad to form words. I get that. Obi-Wan and them have a back and forth, and he's trying to convince her, like, your enemies are here, even on Coruscant. When Obi-Wan said that, I feel like something clicked in her head. Like, she realized it's within the government. There's someone inside. She says that she's going over to the Ministry of Intelligence to meet with a contact, and Obi-Wan is all out begging her to let him in and let him help. They're having a very intimate, very passionate conversation, and Padme's like, hey guys, can I interrupt for a sec? Because of this accident, the Senate moved up their decision to whether to have a Republic occupation. And yep, they all voted in favor of it, and they're all going to ship out tomorrow morning. And it's like, support? Weren't they going for support? Why is this suddenly an occupation?
I just want to say, out of all Padme's hairstyles, I hate this one the most.
I don't even think I paid attention to it.
It's like the big fucking coat hanger shit that goes up like a wall and comes down. I hate it.
In the Coruscant mid to underbelly, I'm not sure what level we're on here, we see a man trying to avoid being noticed walking around, and he meets with a robed Satine in the shadows. And then we see this man in crosshairs because Death Mando is after him. He gives her what turns out to be a disc, but I initially described it as a tech thing that made her excited.
I mean, yeah, not wrong.
Exactly. Death Mando shoots the man right after he's like, this is the whole recording of the deputy minister. You got to take this there. This will add all the context that they need. It's being faked. And after he dies, we finally learn his name. It's Jabu or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. All I could think of was how my old buddy Kaiser used to call me a Mando Dando Dabu, and I was like, what? Is that this guy's name?
A little annoying bug police droid immediately comes in and goes, oh, Satine killed him. I was like, what?
These stupid constable droids and their stupid head hats.
Like, what amount of investigative work? Actually, no, you know what? That tracks. And her weapon is a disruptor. It wouldn't even cause that level of damage with a human. Like, you and I had this discussion.
Yeah.
It wouldn't fire like that, but something tells me they're not even going to look further into it. She books it before she can be apprehended. And the misinformation spot's like, Paul Revere, it's this person. It's this person. Death Mando is literally shooting at her in public, and they're like, still Satine. It's still
look
Satine.
up.
Oh my gosh. One of you is literally flying. It's not like you don't have the neck mechanics to look up. You can just tilt up, thrusters up a little bit in the front, guys.
This Mandalorian assassin, I was wondering if he was somebody I knew before I met them in the Age of the Empire. I was like, maybe I know this guy. I don't know. He's pretty good.
Satine gets over this and takes out the annoying bug bot police thing. and causes enough a distraction that she slips into the crowd. And I thought she initially like speeder jacked someone's ride, which is a weird word to say, by the way.
Accurate term.
And then 2 droid police are like, we have to chase the speeder. And they take off in what, a speeder that sounds like it's on low battery. It was like, bird, bird.
It was a good fake out, though.
And then she's like, just kidding, I wouldn't do that, and slips away. Over on Mundo, Death Mando is reporting back to the governor that the informant he killed might have given her something, and governor's like, get it down at any costs. And then it cuts over to a very menacing Count Dooku's headquarters. Count Dooku HQ. I'm just playing around with these. Count Chocula is meeting with General Mills, aka Sith Vicious Video. I don't know.
He's got more nicknames than you can shake a lightsaber at.
Yes, Vicious, and tells General Mills that the people on Mandalore have been worked into such a state that soon as the Republic show up, that's gonna be it. Death Watch are gonna look like heroes. Which I guess is the plan. In the Undercity, troopers are like, have you seen this woman? And like putting it directly into the eyeballs of people.
They're the
like,
worst cops ever.
And Satine's like, okay, well, I'm 10 feet away having a communication.
Yeah, there she is. You look around, her necks must be fixed.
It's the old style suits where they, like Batman, they can't turn.
Like the droids don't have like cloak defeating optics or something. Like get an X-ray vision or something. Like
nothing.
Shitty fucking droids.
Satine's like, hey, Obi-Wan. And then they end up meeting up so that she's going to get the disc to him, knowing that he probably has less likely of a chance to be searched than if she surrenders herself and goes into the Senate.
He must have thought he was getting a booty call.
He's like, I'm going to rescue her, I'm sure. Smuggle her out of the... Anyways. They're meeting in public, and the Death Mando is there too, as well as the police droids going, have you seen this person? If they're hiding, make sure you tell us. So about 20 feet behind them, she's meeting up with Obi-Wan.
Mandalorian's just letting the cops do the job for him. He's just having a smoke. Yeah, flush her out, you dummies.
Yeah. And the police are just kind of aimlessly wandering around, asking anybody they've seen. They've probably asked those people close to 10, 15 times at this point.
I said no.
Same answer as the last 30 seconds. They make the exchange, and they walk away, and the Death Mando sees her, but she slips into an alleyway. Obi-Wan tuts her suggestion that he would be searched while entering the Senate, and she's like, things are changing, man. Like, they're not going to... He's like, oh, how dare they would search me? And I'm like, here we go, pompous Obi-Wan.
See, this comes back to the idea that Jedi have been such a autonomous... I almost said autonomous collective, but like they have their own authority kind of thing. Like he says they wouldn't dare search a Jedi because like the Jedi have generations of being used to that privilege, and in a way it's like foreshadowing the fall of the Jedi. It's like you guys have gotten too arrogant and too sure of your power in the galaxy, and you're asking for a fall.
Well, it's interesting because that suggests that, much like the senators themselves, Jedi have diplomatic immunity.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Very vague and broad authorities. I mean, they all got made generals at the drop of a hat just because they're Jedi. Like, that's a lot of trust in an old aristocratic meddling system.
And that's including people like who have the same level of experience as Skywalker. And then you've got Fisho's Fisto guy. And then you've got Obi-Wan. And then you've got Yoda at the top. There's so many varying levels of experience, yet they're all just in charge of these armies. Yeah, all right. Oh, and then let's not even forget the fact that they're like, here's an entire squadron to Ahsoka. Have fun. She's what, 12? Death Mando drops a grenade and...
Please, thermal detonator.
And he force pushes her to safety and runs as it detonates. And here we've got is this the first time we're seeing hearing damage? Is this the start of it for Obi-Wan? I know this becomes kind of a thing. So Obi-Wan is tutting her suggestion that he would be searched when entering the Senate, and she's like, things are changing, and she sees it, but he's too close. He can't see the forest through the trees. He can't see the Sith Lord being the Chancellor. And Death Mando at this point drops a thermal detonator.
If you think I'm not putting that other version in, you're crazy.
Obi-Wan recovers just in time to start fighting the Mando, and this went so well for Obi-Wan last time. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is going this time. In record time, he loses his saber. He can never, ever make fun of Skywalker, sorry, anymore. And instead of running, it turns out Satine actually just ran in, grabbed his saber, and returned it to him, just as the Mando starts shooting.
I do love how Mandalorians of almost any sect will not back down from fighting Force users. They take the fight to the Jedi, and that is indeed heavily ingrained in non-pacifist Mandalorian culture, where with many generations they would train specifically to fight Jedi for the challenge. So it's like when he fought Jango. Like Jango's the only guy to fight Obi-Wan to a fucking standstill with all his gadgets and tech. And like this guy, Death Watch, is not as big a fan as I am of them. He just goes right for the Jedi, no fear. He just takes the fight on.
Satine calls out Obi. And I've never heard anybody call him just Obi.
Other than Jar Jar.
I'm like, oh, cute little Obi loses it and force throws this Mando everywhere.
Dark side coming out there. Don't call me that.
Yeah, he just basically like crushes him against the side of a building and then throws him over the side. And then the Mando's like, thank God my jetpack still works. And he manages to get away.
Yeah, full tank. He went way out of there.
We cut over to outside the Senate, where Satine goes with the plan of surrendering herself while Obi-Wan slips into the Senate unnoticed.
Yeah, okay, shouldn't this be one of the most secure places in the fucking known universe, and they distract them with a fucking sitcom level, and Obi-Wan just walks in? Really?
These aren't the Jedi you're looking for.
He didn't even do that. They just looked the other way, and then he went.
In the sitting room, which is where all those little hover discs are, Chancellor's at the speak now or forever hold your peace part of his speech, and Padme's like, I got something, I object. They play the whole recording where you can clearly see the artful editing, where he's like, we need to say no to the Republic's help, and this would destabilize it, and the government here is doing what they can. Like, it's just painting a completely different picture. So all the senators are like, what?
Oh, this is the non-AI version.
And we don't get to see what their decision is, but we do figure it out quite quickly, because we cut over to Mundo, where Governor Happy is anything but. He is having a full-on fit, and he's like, I want Mandalore now! Wah! And Count Chocula's like, patience, patience. So the Senate said no to the occupation.
I do believe I saw a couple quick cameos in the Senate of, I think, Mon Mothma, definitely Senator Chuchi, but it looked like Mon Mothma to me there.
Who was the Chancellor's sidekick? Who is this guy? The blue one.
The blue guy?
Yeah.
That is a Chagrian politician called Mas Ameda, and he's very much a high-ranking person in later on in the Galactic Empire. He's the Grand Vizier, so he's just sort of a high-ranking aide of an advisor of Palpatine, but he's very highly placed. People have debated whether he was in on the whole thing, if he really knew what was going on. If he wasn't, he was still very dedicated to Palpatine's political ambitions, and he's almost an adversary unto himself.
Back at the Padpatine, Palpatine is earning his Oscar with, thankfully, this whole thing was foiled. As if he isn't seething internally that this didn't go the way he planned. Satine sweeps into the room. She's got all of her royalty, I guess, all of her respect and all of her fanciful, I don't know what the word is. She's got her groove back. one moment for the cat to sneeze. Can you guys just shut up, please? Obi-Wan and Satine lock eyes for a moment just before Satine continues on with the political non-speak. And then Padme is like the smoothest person ever, being like, anyways, we all have an excuse to leave this room except for you two, bye. So that Satine and Obi can have a moment. And they talk about the elephant in the room. Who's the one pulling the strings within the government? Meanwhile, Palpatine's definitely not listening to the bugs he has in his own office. I don't know who it is. Mystery to me.
Now, if only having the truth come out actually worked to stop evil politicians in the real world, because it seems to have no effect at all in the real world.
No, there seems to be a cycle of, no, I would never do that, while they're actively doing it. No, that's not happening after it's done. Why didn't you stop me? In closing, this episode needs to be shown in every political science class as an example of misinformation. It had everything, even the clear-cut example of how effective editing can be used as a tool to spread propaganda. And it's weird that I was originally coming for Satine for her seemingly naive views on the whole thing, but this episode was all about context. Really was. From start to finish, there was a clear theme of context makes or breaks the situation. And it's also shown that by flipping the script on Satine, and suddenly you've seen that fine line that she's walking as a leader of Mandalore and the neutral systems. Because we forget, just because this was all about Mandalore doesn't mean there aren't 1,499 systems also that under her leadership.
They can do it to them, they'll do it to everybody. That's the way it goes.
Exactly. So this was, we take breaks because, you know, life gets in the way and stuff, but it always seems very strange how well these line up to whatever's just going on in our lives right now.
I swear to God.
Because remember, one of the other times that we took like the summer off, we come back to it just as we're watching Ahsoka on the screen and in her show, both referencing the exact same.
Yeah, you've like once again river songing the shit out of this stuff, but it's all lining up at these key points that you've had quite a journey with some of these stories.
Yeah, I would really prefer to not have a live reenactment of this. Could do without that.
Yeah, we got one Jedi left, and it's Bernie Sanders out trying to save the world.
Is Bernie Sanders Yoda?
He might as well be, because he's going around everywhere speaking truth. People just gotta listen.
Do we just need to get Yoda a pair of mittens? So, is there any more thoughts about the Star Wars Clone Wars Season 2, Episode 14?
I did like some of this is some early appearances of things like the Gauntlet class dropships that the Death Watch had, which is a very typical Mandalorian ship. You've seen it in The Mandalorian. So I did like seeing those. And even the Civi shuttles in the pacifist side of things, they still bear a resemblance to the Gauntlet ships. And a lot of their clothing and stuff still has the Mandalorian armor pattern on it with the diamond slot and the chest sort of thing. So there's still similarities, which I kind of liked. Oh, I had a question for you. Did you happen to catch Satine's last name when they were looking for her?
Yes. Kriz or something? Kreese. Yeah, that's it.
Just keep that in the back of your head.
Cool. I will keep that in the back of the old noggin here. But yes, no, I like this episode. I like that it made me rethink her views on everything, because it's so easy. And that's another thing that's kind of wrong with what's going on with right now, is that people are so afraid to admit that they're wrong that they'd rather just bury their heads in the sand and double down on it, triple down on it, and be like, yeah, and I was not wrong. And it's like, clearly this is XYZ of wrong. So having that context, people also need to be open to accepting the added details that might change the whole scenario in its entirety, kind of thing.
People don't want to be right. They want to be on the winning team with whatever side matches the shit they hate.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Stay tuned. Do it. come back around.
I did like this episode too, and it does really cast Satine in a new light. I didn't like her that much up until this episode, where she's just, she's fighting so hard to do the right thing, and she's just getting fucked over left and right by assholes that are just trying to take everything over. So it does cast Satine in a much more sympathetic light, and I did like it. I always like anything to do with, lower level cores and stuff, so that sort of thing. I like Hood Up Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he's kind of sneaking around. That reminds me of the Alec Guinness, where he's sneaking around the Death Star. So I like Kenobi with his hood up.
Yeah.
So other than the horrific real world parallels right now, it was a good episode.
I give it 4 sad speeders out of a possible 5 sad speeders.
All right, let's change the topic to something more cheerful. Never mind. Buffy season 2 episode 14, titled Innocence, I think it was. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is, again, this is a very theme-heavy episode.
My prediction is that we'll find out in the episode that Angel is actually innocent of killing Calendar's people. Let's just move on.
That prediction aged super well through that episode alone.
That could still come out, but it's not today. All right. At the vampire lair, the judge is meditating. I honestly forgot about him for a moment, and I was like, oh, right. So with all their enemies knowing where they are, Spike thinks they should split and get out of there, but Drusilla thinks they wouldn't dare face the judge again, and I would agree with that assessment. Spike calls him Big Blue. I'm like, what's he doing? He just sits around. The judge will become more powerful the more lives he takes, so he's getting ready, and for a moment, Drusilla goes into a weirdo trance.
Spike has, a good point here where he goes, well, if you're charged up by killing people, then go kill people.
Spike's like, we'll go grab someone right now. I'm sure they're guilty of something.
Well, I mean, technically, Drew and Spike, Judge said himself, those 2 would actually count towards strengthening him. So, anyways, which is interesting to note considering what happens next.
Better hope he's not getting snackish. All right, over at Angel's pad, Buffy wakes up again to the rain on the windows that shouldn't even be there. And Angel's rolling around on the pavement with his kidney stone, and a 90s lady with a cigarette. She's like, hey, are you good? And then Angel goes full vampire face, and he kills her, and he vamps her, and then he blows out the smoke she inhaled.
This woman is actually Buffy's stunt double, Sophia Crawford.
Oh, cool. That's really cool.
So the first woman he kills looks exactly like Buffy.
I mean, I noticed she was a blonde and everything, but that's a very, very cool bit of trivia. I like that.
Also, I had a note also about rain gone. Rain there,
yes.
rain gone.
Yeah, turn it off, boys. All right, at Buffy's doing the walk of shame into the house first thing in the morning. That means she had to walk through town for everyone knows. Caesar knows what's going on. And Angel just didn't come home. Side note, I see in the opening credits the Romani guy who's been in everything is Victor Schiavelli. I hope I'm saying that right. And I knew he had a cool name, and as soon as I saw it, I remembered it. So Victor Schiavelli, he's the cool Romani uncle who's...
Was he also in Heroes?
Probably.
I wouldn't even put past him at this point.
The thing that first leaps to mind with this guy, other than Batman Returns, is he was like a hitman in one of the Bond films. That was one of the Pierce Brosnan films. One of the not great ones, but he's got him in the hotel room, and he's like a marksman, and he fakes deaths. And Pierce is like, Bond's like, yeah, it's not going to look right if you shoot me from there. And he's like, I could shoot you from Stuttgart, Mr. Bond, and still achieve the desired effect. I love this guy. So I'm finally glad I got his name properly, got his name correct. All right, anyway. So Buffy does I'm just coming down the stairs, not just going up them, wearing the exact same thing I was yesterday. Joey says, did you have fun last night? And I was jokingly expecting Buffy to go, But she said she had fun at Willow's, thanks to the old round robin deception. I was half expecting Joyce to look her up and down and go, you got laid, didn't you? Or something like that.
But I don't appreciate that trope where she's like, you look different. It's like, no, you never look different after P goes in V. Like, that doesn't, like, automatically give you a glow up or anything, people. Like, it's...
Well, I don't know. I think in college I was smiling so much my friends knew, but, you know.
Well, that's one thing, but Buffy doesn't have a glow up right now.
No, I don't change how you look. It might change how you act, but not so much how you look. My other note here was for Joy's like, what are you doing here? You've been around a lot lately.
What? No boyfriends? Ooh, too soon.
Oh, well, I mean, after Ted, I would have swore a celibacy, oath of some kind.
Thelma and Louising it.
All right, at the library, Xander reports to the whole gang that the bus station was awash and had all kinds of interesting people at it. Now, I once took the Greyhound from Maine to Arizona, then back again. Can confirm you meet some interesting fucking people.
And you were right in the same, like, time range that this was happening in, too. Yeah,
96,
within the same year,
97.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, boy, that's a whole chapter of my memoirs is the Greyhound adventure. Let me tell you, a guy in Dayton, Ohio tried to sell me his pants. Don't even get me started about the guy that wouldn't stop doing coke on the overnight. Holy fuck. The bus wanted to kill him. And we were united for that brief moment how we all wanted to kill this guy. You know what's funny is that guy got off our bus at a McDonald's stop and everyone's like, good riddance. And we're in the middle of nowhere. He gets on another Greyhound bus going in the other direction. And then we got to like St. Louis or wherever and he was at the station. And the few of us that were kind of got to know each other by sight were like, how the fuck did he get here? The bus went the other way. So, yeah. Cue X-Files theme. All right, I'm gonna get back on track.
You guys just saw a glitch in the Matrix.
It's seriously, he's like a twin brother looking for him. He's had all the coke. All right. I got a Greyhound adventure. Where are we here? All right, so Buffy isn't there yet. Xander wants to run straight to the vampire warehouse, and Cordelia says to do what? Be afraid and die? But once again, a refreshing voice of common sense from Cordelia. But Willow sides with Xander about helping, but Buffy turns up and reports that the judge is assembled, like Voltron.
I have one quote from the scene that literally, well, some of us were going to save you. And Giles is like, I would have.
Poor Giles is just fucking getting buffeted around by the winds of things out of his control in this episode. Doing his best.
Yeah, poor guy.
Okay, Giles says when the judge gets stronger, he'll basically be able to incinerate people by a look. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a great power.
That is a power that I accidentally would end up using. I'd be like, whoops.
Giles says go to class, and Calendar's going to research the judge online, which I want to see the 90s website of that with its flashing animated GIFs, facts about the judge. Some fucking terrible music's playing in the background. It's got like an animated GIF with his blue head going back and forth.
Why is it 9 Inch Nails?
Xander says he'll come back later and help with the research, and Cordelia gives him a drive-by burn about his reading ability. Calendar sort of lurks behind Buffy and Willow in the hallway, eavesdropping about Angel going missing. And I'm like, isn't this just kind of normal guy behavior? They get laid and turn into jerks and just fuck off uncaringly. Yeah, baby, I was with my friends.
That's the trope that they're turning with a Sunnydale twist. Yep.
All right, at the vampire warehouse, because now we've established they're at a warehouse. Drusilla is still in her opium level trance, says she can see the stars. And Spike's like, well, inside and it's daytime. I love Spike's. No, he's just sick of everything. Then Angel just saunters in, no problem. How you doing? The judge touches Angel and nothing happens. He's clean. There's no humanity in him. So what's going on sort of coming into focus here.
That means that he is worse than Drusilla and Spike combined,
right?
Because they still have humanity. Yikes.
He scored lower on the evil scale. And then the judge goes back to playing Super Nintendo or whatever he was doing.
He's got the Game Boy.
So Angel's evil again. Here we go. But Spike and Drusilla seem quite delighted. It's like a little reunion's happening. I'm like, oh, Angel's smoking cigarettes. He's definitely evil. Probably stole him off that girl.
Yeah. And again, a shout out to the makeup people because there are subtle differences in Angel versus Angelus's makeup. And it actually makes them look almost drastically different. Like I can easily forget about Angel when I'm watching Angelus because there's just simple powdery paleness that's a little added to, which makes me think, does Angel use makeup to look more human to
I'd
make
buy
people
that.
feel better?
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting. Anyways.
All right, so Angel is evil again after sleeping with Buffy, and what a plot thing that is. All right, at the library, the gang is researching. Willow is reassuring Buffy on the phone. She's out looking for Angel, and she's even beat up Willie the Snitch a few times. Imagine that's the nickname you're saddled with. Oh, Willie the Snitch. Yeah, he got beat up off camera. They didn't even bring him in for filming. Fuck you, Mocha Joe. Also relevant this week, another Larry David quote. You know who wears sunglasses inside? Blind people and assholes. There you go. Angel disappears, but Buffy is extra wigged because of her dreams, which we're learning don't fucking ignore them. So the only one who's actually finding any info is Cordelia, who is again helping when she doesn't have to. She's fully part of the team now. Like she just keeps showing up and coming through. So she's once again plus 10 points to Cordelia. Xander says sorry for being snippy. There's a little more verbal sparring, and Jesus Christ, now they're smacking away. Not as bad as the other ones, but still, I was like, come on. But finally, Willow catches them, busts them, and she runs off. This is very high school reactions, how you get super jealous over someone you're not even with, and you don't really you're allowed to be jealous, but the way that you react is very entitled in a way. You know how the high school mentality is. Oh, I liked you, and now I'm going to run away all dramatically.
So the penny drops for Willow.
Xander chases her, and she's putting her jealousy on full display with her reaction and their feelings. It's all sort of out there now. And Willow says, you'd rather be with someone you hate than be with me. So now it's really out on the table now.
And then the penny drops for Xander. I have a point that I'm going with this. That's why I keep saying that.
Okay. So Buffy's house at night, Buffy goes home, but she changes her mind and then swings over to Angel's pad, which has every light in the place on, which kills me as a dad. But there he is. And he's shirtless again, of course.
This scene is heartbreaking. I'll be
really
over here
is.
sobbing in the corner while this is happening. Go on.
So Angel's like, what's the big deal? I took off. And he talks to Buffy like she's a child and makes it out like it was okay, man. And she's visibly crushed. And, he's saying all these mean things. And again, I'm like, he's just acting like a normal guy here, really, which is to say, an asshole. Buffy says she loves him. And he's like, yeah, I love you too, baby. I'll call you. And again, he's just like, just being a normal jerk guy. So the uncle's lecturing Calendar about multi-generational vengeance. I just wanted to use the term multi-generational vengeance. Calendar says there's a lot going on and Angel could help fight the judge. So she's not, I kind of expected her to go fully along with what the family wanted and just be like, all right, yeah, we'll fuck this guy over. But she's too much part of the team. So she's still hanging on and sticking up for him and stuff. So according to the curse, if Angel experiences a moment of pure contentment, he will revert back to his evil self. And I'm like, wow, that is one harsh curse, man.
So there was a quote that was cut where essentially Uncle Ennio, says that at the moment that you forget about the curse means you're no longer eligible to have the curse. You're no longer good enough to suffer that torment. You're no longer good enough to have a soul.
Feels like that'd be a lot of effort. And you'd be like, fuck it, I'll just be evil.
And this scene, unfortunately, sets a precedent that it's every time Angel finishes, shall we see, but it's not really that, because obviously, if you look at Angel, he's probably had some neck in his day, to quote Xander, unfortunately, but it's more that he had pure happiness, like absolutely in love with Buffy. And I just wanted to make that now because the show unfortunately really bastardizes that point later on, but it was the fact that he was in love with Buffy, not the fact that he came with Buffy.
God. Yeah, that is a harsh curse. The only one that popped into my mind was from an old Forgotten Realms novel where there was a guy, a warrior who is Kelemvor, who actually eventually became the god of the dead. He had a curse where he wanted to be a hero and always do the right thing, but if he did anything without the promise of reward, he would turn into a panther and until he killed somebody, and then he would have to live with the guilt of killing. And it didn't matter who he killed. So if he's like, all right, yeah, I'll come help you, but you have to give me a reward. It had to be money or something. But if he acted selflessly, then the curse would trigger, the panther would split out of him, and he'd kill somebody. And then he did do that point, got to a point where he helped, the woman he loved, who also became a god. And he was starting to turn, and he's like, promise me something. And she says, my reward will be a kiss. And that satisfied the curse, and he didn't. So yeah, but like, just as far as creative curses too, these two are top of the list right now.
That one is wild.
Uncle Ennio says, it is not justice we serve, it is vengeance. And very, very distinct difference there. Calendar walks out. I was worried she'd go after the revenge stuff 100%, like I said, but no, not so much. So at the school, Willow returns at night as Xander and her talk, but she puts her feelings aside to work on the judge problem. And it keeps coming back how it took an army to defeat him. So Xander very painfully creates a thought and a plan, but the lights in the hallway go out and Angel appears in the shadows. I'm like, oh.
It was so unprecedented that he didn't even realize he was having a thought at first.
He's like, oh, my head hurts.
The effort, it burned.
And Willow's like, do you smell burning rubber? All right, so he's got something to show them, and go get the others. Come here, Willow. And I'm in caps, all right, don't do it. Calendar appears, crucifix in hand, but Xander runs back. So Angel grabs Willow, then Buffy appears. Like, this is like a 90s wrestling match where people keep running into the ring. It's like, every time you turn your back, someone appears. So Buffy appeals to his humanity, but he seems pretty solidly evil. Xander sneaks up behind Angel with the cross and shoves it in his face, and he lets Willow go. Angel kisses Buffy all creepy, and then he fucks off. Me to Buffy, let your hatred flow. Like, seriously, fuck this guy. He can't be trusted. He's too dangerous to be left alone. Stake this motherfucker. No one stays with their high school boyfriend anyway. All right, at the library, the gang is now all updated that Angel is evil now. Giles is leading towards blind panic. But he raises a valid point that things are bad enough normally with just Spike, Drusilla, and a horde of vampires, but now they got the judge and Angel. Like, that's too much for the Scooby Gang to handle. Like, I'd be calling up what's-her-face, the other Slayer, and be like, look, we need some backup here. Get on a plane.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Cordelia sums everything up and nicely including the phrase, the Slayer is a basket case. So Buffy's very heartbroken. Giles reasons that something had to trigger the change in him, and did anything happen last night? And I'm like, awkward.
Willow picks up on a lot of things that are happening. She picks up on the fact that Jenny knew right away. And she picked up on the event that triggered his change. And Xander at one point in the scene goes, wear something trash-ier. And I'm like, she's wearing a sweater set. She's like the epitome of preppy. I don't understand how this is...
Yeah, that didn't fit.
Trashy at all. Like, what?
Just being an asshole.
Oh, it's his default setting.
But yeah, Willow, she clues in right away what's going on. And she even goes, Giles, shut up. Okay, so Xander has a plan for the judge, which includes a van, which Oz has, and for Cordelia to wear something trashier. I can see kind of where this is going to this point, and all I can think is, like, I hope Oz's insurance is good. Like, I thought the plan was going to be somehow to get the judge in the van and fucking sink it in a fucking harbor or something, something like that. And I was like, this is going to cost Oz a van, isn't it? Another prediction that didn't work out.
That would have been so good, though.
Just poor Seth Green, like, my van. So at the vampire warehouse, evil Angel he's already kind of wearing on me. Like, he's insufferably annoying, just a swagger. I just like, ugh. So he's all confidence, but Spike he's not too convinced. Meanwhile, Drusilla's poking her creepy doll's eyes. It's got a real Three Stooges eye poke thing going on. All right, Buffy's in her room at home, and she sees the Clawder ring, and it makes her cry, so she's having a time. And it's ridiculous vampire romance stuff, but everyone has gone through these spots in your life where you are just fucking destroyed, and she was selling that really well.
Well, this scene, it's either this scene or the scene in the apartment earlier when where her and Angel had their first conversation. But there was a scene where they actually had to stop recording for 25 minutes so David could calm Sarah down because she was so invested in the Buffy and Angel relationship that there was a point when she actually broke, and I think it was this scene that he actually had to go in and like calm her down.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me like the actor more now. You know,
Yeah.
because I hate Angel right now. All right, so yeah, like we've all had that heartbreak, and it's the worst. You think this is gonna never end, and it goes on. It's gonna go on forever, and you'll never feel better. But and there's no convincing you that you will feel better in that time. But everyone's been through it.
Yeah.
All right, this scene is quickly ruined by a too close-up dream sequence of them getting down. There's sweaty skin and tattoos, and then that dream thankfully shifts to a daytime scene at a cemetery, where Angel says, it's Angel in the daytime for one thing. So Angel says, I have to know what to see. And one of the mourners there is Jenny Calendar, who lifts a veil like it's like an unmasking. So Buffy wakes up and she knows where to go.
Terminator Buffy.
Oh, I loved it. She goes right to school, marches into a full class, and pins Calendar to the desk by her neck in front of everybody. And Giles is like, dismissed. Class dismissed.
Should I get the principal?
Yeah, who we haven't seen in a while, by the way. So the truth comes out about Calendar, how she was sent to watch Buffy. And Giles, of course, is shocked. I think I said this last time in the last podcast. Like the inevitable crushing is going to come up for Giles, too.
Penny drops for Giles.
There you go. All the truth comes out about how Angel achieved his moment of happiness. Like, why
Penny drops for Giles.
Yeah, he's getting his 2 cents worth.
Oh, no.
I can do this shit too, you know.
I love it.
But like, thanks, Joss Whedon. Like, why does that moment of bliss have to be when he fucking nuts? And a girl that's 200 years younger than him, like this, it just all seems so wrong.
Yep, that's Whedon.
All right. Okay, so all the truth comes out, and Buffy's plan is to re-curse him. And like, of all the options, I didn't know that would be a thing to do. Apparently, they can't do that, but it's just like, what an idea. Yeah, curse him again. I want my boyfriend miserable and emo again.
I will quote someone who this line won't come up for 2 seasons, but it's like, undo it. You made it bad.
Angel pays a visit to Victor Schiavelli, and now that I remember his name, he's probably about to leave this franchise for good, and boy, does he ever.
2 questions. How? As in, how did he know where to go? I'm going to assume Drusilla for this, just for plot device.
You're right, they don't give a clear explanation of that.
Also, how did he get in? Which establishes the lore that hotels and motels are not held by the same rules as private residences.
Oh, that's very interesting, actually, yeah. Or he got some stupid bellhop to get him to come in or something.
But it has to be somebody who owns.
Yeah, I like
house.
their explanation much better. That it's like a public house. It's like, I mean, he doesn't get permission to walk into the Bronze either, right? So
exactly. Or schools.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. All right, so this is going to be the same reaction I had to the fact that there are docks in Sunnydale. There's also a fucking army base. Yeah, I'll have it up. I assume there's an Air Force base and naval dock somewhere, too. Probably a black site or two. Seriously, who built this town? So Oz's van pulls up, which looks a lot like an actual Scooby van, just with no good paint job. Okay, so Xander's convincing them to break into an army base, and he's not telling them any of the details of the plan. Just trust me. Like, by far, the most unbelievable thing in this episode, including the guy with the big blue head. So a guard catches him, but Xander somehow bluffs his way on the fly that he's also in the army, and he's taken this trashy girl into the armory for a shag, and it works. So it blew my mind.
This is the most believable part of this episode for me. Being a person who was in cadets, which is around the same age as a lot of the young recruits for the military. There's a blurring of that age there, about 19. And Between that and the way this guy's holding this rifle, what a friggin' joke. That's all I have to say.
The guard says, all right, you got 20 minutes. And Xander says, I only need 5.
Self-burn.
More like 30 seconds. He's going to get his moment of bliss. Does that make Xander evil?
How would we know?
Might make him smart.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, so here's an interesting twist that goes back to the Halloween episode. Xander has retained military knowledge from the Halloween night thing where he was a soldier. This is interesting. So I was trying to remember what the other people's costumes were and what they retained, but apparently Xander's got an encyclopedia of military info in his head, and this is actually met a bit of a game changer for his usefulness. A very convenient explanation as to how it happened and how he walked in here. But this, I mean, it's funny that they did. Maybe they just came up with it now, but this seems really important. Like Xander might have divulged that he's got like G.I. Joe level fucking knowledge and training. Like that would come in fucking handy, Xander. Why would you keep that to yourself?
Because he can't use it to get laid until now. So why would he share it? It
would have been funny if he actually had sex with Cordelia in there. Anyway. All right, so Xander's got all this military info in his head. Cordelia asks what he mentioned to the guard earlier. He says, does looking at guns make you want to have sex? And he says, I'm 17. Looking at linoleum makes me want to have sex. I'm like, oh, a rare zinger for Xander. Well done. Back in the van, Oz and Willow are chatting. Do you guys steal from the army a lot? Well, we don't have cable, so we have to make our own fun. I've spoken like a true 90s teenager, man.
I have that same quote.
That's a good one. Relatable. Willow point blank asks if he wants to make out, and after admitting to thinking about it, but Oz shows a little wisdom here and insight into Willow's motivations, and he does not take advantage, and he's like, we can wait. And then he hops out of the van, and Willow makes an expression that says to me, I am definitely going to fuck this guy now.
Oz's pure boyfriend goals.
He's a good guy.
It's so nice to see Xander and Cordelia interactions immediately juxtaposed with Willow and Oz interactions. So it's like, here's what you don't do. Here's what you do. Here's what you do.
Here's what you do. And as fucking stupid as I was as a teenage guy in the 90s, I had my plenty of Xander moments, but I also had plenty of Oz moments where, the young lady I was hanging around with was too drunk. I didn't take advantage because I knew it would have been completely a wrong thing to do. Things like that, or you don't want to rush something. And I always did err on that side more often than not. So I really respect that Oz he's being a cool guy about this, and he could have just taken an easy makeout session, but he didn't. Whereas 9 out of 10 guys in the 90s fucking would have. So yeah, plus 10 points to Oz for that one. But Will's definitely gonna fuck him.
Oz gets all the points.
At the hotel, Calendar, Giles, and Buffy finds the dead Uncle Enyo with the words, was it good for you two, written in blood on the wall.
Ugh.
And Buffy says, the words I've been waiting to hear, well, I'm gonna have to kill him. And in my head, I was the Donald Glover gif. Good.
And I'm just over here going, hotel, motel, holiday. Like, that's all that's going on in my head right now. I don't know why. Anyways.
That's what was cool. Okay.
I don't know why, ever since that conversation about hotels and motels not being private residences, that's been playing in my head. Anyways, I had to get that out. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Okay, the bad guys depart the vampire warehouse to go do some evil. They're going to go to a public place and let the judge have a buffet. And Spike's left behind, and I mean, the FOMO must be terrible, especially because Drusilla seems all enraptured by Evil Angel again. So he's feeling left out. At the library, they regroup, and Calendar says, is there anything I can do? And Buffy says, get out, which Giles also says, so cold. And here's that betrayal and hurt I knew he was going to have to go through.
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded. So the gang stole something. We don't see what yet. At this point, I have a pretty good guess what it is, but I was like, no, they wouldn't. But stay tuned. Xander's going to show her how to use it. Like, again, this is like Xander's got all this, like, I can teach you how to use this weapon. Like, it's almost a superpower in a way, like.
Not gonna lie, when I was a kid watching this through for the first time, I thought it was another arm in a box.
Right? Yeah. It's like, whose arm do we get to fight him?
It's gonna be like an arm that she puts on, and it's gonna be like, and yeah, I don't know.
So it's not the judge's arm. It's, I don't know, the This one's called the prosecutor.
Xena's arm.
All right, so the gang goes to the warehouse, but the baddies are gone except for Spike, who's hiding in the shadows, and he'd be in some shit here if they found him at that moment. They could have spiked. They could have spiked him. They could have staked him. They could have spiked Steak. I mean,
Steak.
but they could have. They literally could have done away with Spike then and there if they'd found him. I don't think he would have been able to stop them. So where do they take the judge to do some judging? Not the Bronze, because it's closed, no doubt to clean up after the fucking party. So Oz has an idea where he might have gone. So Oz is being pretty useful. I mean, he let them use the van. He just took part in stealing military assets with his van. I mean, he's going out on a limb here.
So, like, where else would you take your new friend in town to go judge people? Duh, at the mall.
You know, originally I was going to say the DMV because there'll be people lined up like crazy there. But, the mall's good too. I love a good 90s mall. So the vampire gang comes in and the judge immediately incinerates some guy in a business coat who probably deserved it.
And no one notices?
Yeah, really. Just go to... not even that a guy got turned to ashes, but there's a big fucking guy with a blue head. They can't even make Darth Maul jokes because the movie hadn't come out yet. So the good guys arrive with the mystery weapon. Buffy says she'll handle the Smurf, which I like that she said that. Who is at the moment chain lightning judging the whole place at once. I'm like, all right, we're getting efficient with this shit. Which, due to his complicity in making it happen, if he had actually judged and killed all those people, Angel would have been sunk for good, because good or evil, he was responsible. And if he'd been, one guy died all as it is, but if he'd been responsible for killing 100 people at a mall, like, even if he turned good again, there'd be no going back.
Nope.
Anyway, so I thought they were all pretty fucked, but Buffy shoots him in the neck with a crossbow, and he does the whole no weapon forged can kill me. So, and a little unsurprisingly, Buffy pulls out a fucking bazooka in a crowded mall, and I'm back to thinking Xander's an idiot, but I see where he's going with this. Angel and Drusilla know what it is, and they do a slow motion get the fuck out, which I loved. They were like, I couldn't get away fast enough. I love
you know what this was supposed to be?
No.
It was supposed to be a tank, but apparently it was too expensive. You imagine Buffy rolling up with a tank?
Yeah, that'd make national news. There'd be no hiding that shit. And in retrospect, they were wise to go with the RPG.
Yeah.
Oh my god, even that was pretty fucking outlandish. But I mean, to its credit, it looked very high-techy, and it didn't just look like a silly old cartoon bazooka or something.
And when the Scoobies kind of come up from behind the counter, the look on Oz's face, he has never been so happy. He's just like, yes, because he almost emotes a smile, which means he's loving being in the Scoobies.
Yeah. Even though he might, go to Leavenworth for fucking 50 years for helping them steal that shit. But, if someone's going to account for that, like, we're missing a bazooka. What? Who was guarding that night? And he's going to be like, well, this kid came in. Like, they'd have him in a day in the real world. All right, so the judge goes, what's that do? And Buffy fucking blows the shit out of him in one shot. I still can't believe they did this in a crowded area. But they're going to go pick up the pieces and keep them apart to be safe. Oz goes, arm. Like, I'd stay away from it. We've seen what it can do on its own. Alas, judgy, we barely knew ye. All right, now go kill Angel. So it's Buffy versus Angel in a sprinkler fight, and they're not pulling any punches at all. And Angel goads her a little too much, and she kicks him all over the place, and she smashes him like through a cabinet, glass cabinet, and pulls him up through it. Like, there's some good hard-hitting fighting in this scene. But she hesitates with stake in hand. But she does the next best thing, and she power kicks him in the nuts, which is fucking awesome, and leaves and says, give me time. And as much as I was like, you need to kill this asshole now, I was like, that was metal. Like, that was, badass.
Yep.
So anyway, Giles drives Buffy home in his Renault, was it?
Citroen.
Citroen. All right, I knew it was some very ancient European make. Buffy thinks it's all her fault, but Giles disagrees, but warns he will come after her, but Angel will come after her for sure, and that the months ahead are going to be tough. But he pledges his support, and I can see what you meant about this really being a pivotal set of episodes this season, because it really, total game changer. Mm-hmm. So Buffy chills out with Joyce, who's still hanging around, and has some birthday cupcakes. And she goes, "Happy birthday." I don't got to sing, do I?
Sorry, I didn't have time to make you a real cake. Is Mom for? I ate the first one. Sorry.
Yeah, you stayed out all night. I know what you're doing, so I ate your cake. But Joyce can see Buffy's going through some serious shit right now. She's not herself. So, okay, wrapping up here, the prediction, not even fucking close. Angel's more evil now than when we started. I do think Buffy's nuts for not going straight to Angel's bachelor pad and killing him there and then. Just tear his curtains down, let the sun do the rest. This is my only big problem with how it played out, is that Angel can now potentially kill her mother or Willow or Giles, and that shit is all going to be on Buffy because she didn't do the hard thing and go there and take care of him. Go kill him now. And at this point, I wrote a little song. I have an evil boyfriend and he must die now. Called J.G. Van Helsing. 877 killed now. That's how I feel about it. All right, so in conclusion, I did like this episode. Like I said, it's very much a game changer. It's probably good the judge isn't sticking around for longer, but man, am I ever rooting against the evil Angel now? Like, just totally rooting against him. I hope he gets a few more kicks in the nuts.
This episode, Innocence, it's at first glance, it's obviously about Buffy losing her, virginity and blah, 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 all the womanly life. But it's so much more than that. It's about everybody losing their innocence. Like the Willow's innocence about Xander's whole situation, Xander's innocence about sneaking around, Cordelia's innocence in that respect, because she's party to that too. Giles's innocence when the penny drops about Jenny. Jenny's innocence when everything falls away and she's revealed as somebody from the Caldrash tribe who originally cursed Angel. Angel's innocence because he lost his soul in his love for Buffy. And then, of course, Buffy's innocence. So everybody lost a bit of their innocence here in this episode. And
all the cards went on the table.
Yeah, it was basically everything that the beginning of the season was building up to. This was the turning point, and now from here on out, the season is going to look very, very different with the new landscaping.
I also liked how the group dynamic is not getting stagnant, and things feel like we were just saying, very different now than they even did a couple of episodes, like the introduction of Oz and all the relationship stuff, shifting against each other. But like Angel as the villain now is, I assumed that was going to sort of happen at some point. They were going to have to fight him, but it seems like again, like this evil Angel could last, I don't know, the whole rest of the season or a couple episodes. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know how long it's going to last, and that's interesting. So I'm very much looking forward to some more episodes and him potentially getting kicked in the nuts again. So what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are this episode is one of the top rated of Buffy all time for a reason. It is a very well thought out couple of episodes with the setup and the knockout.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah. There was a lot of pieces, a lot of people needed to be, and sometimes it was clunky, like finding Uncle Enyo, like, sure, I guess he was in the Yellow Pages.
Other than those couple little plot holes, it wasn't too bad. There's like one or two of them, but I was willing to overlook them.
Yeah, I felt like Uncle Enyo's storyline and Yana's Jenny storyline was a little bit clunky in how they made some of their moves to maneuver everybody else into where they needed to be for the episodes. But overall, I think it worked.
Man, what'd they do with that hotel room? Imagine coming in the next day to clean that shit up. As far as we know, they just left them there.
Holiday Inn.
And again, they'd catch them even faster. They'd check the security camera. The cops would see all these people going into his room, then leaving, and the guy's dead. Like, where are the police in this town? All right, well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week and see what happens. Until then, this is Vinzer Flynn saying, if you've got an evil boyfriend and you need him dead now, call J.G. Van Helsing. 877 kill now.
Da 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 da.